There we go. Okay, so it's March 14th. Some would call it Pi Day. I call it approximately Pi Day. There's a meeting of the Education Subcommittee of Ways and Means. We're going to be taking up a handful of bills today. We're going to start off with some local legislation that has been sent to us by delegations. All of these have letters of support and have been voted favorably by their respective delegations. The first one is House Bill 153, which comes from Baltimore City, which forms I think a task group or a work group to take a look at compensation for the student member of the board and other issues surrounding that student member's participation. So it's really just to investigate possibilities. Alistair, is there anything else to the bill besides that?
Yes, sir. It also allows the student member to vote on certain matters that previously student member was not allowed.
And that's outside the work group, right? That's done without the work group giving a recommendation. That would just be done by this bill.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell what the subjects are that are added? I'm guessing budget, because that seems to be a popular one these days. We got to another one like
yes, that. It is capital and operating budgets, school closings and openings, and student disciplinary matters. They still are not permitted to vote on personnel issues and collective bargaining decisions.
Okay, and we have a letter from so let's point out that there's precedent for this. Anne Arundel County being the shining star of precedence, whether you like it or not. Their student member is a fully voting member. There's a rumor that they even served as the vice chair for a year. So we're not breaking any precedent, and generally local courtesy is the way to go here. There's no amendments to the bill.
No, additionally, this bill passed in this form, the entire General Assembly last year.
What happened to why did the Senate not take it up, or was it?
No, the Senate passed it. It was vetoed by the former governor.
Right, and the former governor vetoed these. His reason for veto was that there was a court case considering whether students could even serve on a board because they weren't a voting age. That has been solved, and the courts have told us we have wide latitude in our ability to appoint or to create opportunities for people of various ages to participate on boards. So I'll take a motion on this bill.
Move approval.
Okay, I have a motion for favorable.
Second.
Got a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of House Bill 153 favorable report, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, carries unanimously among the folks present. Next bill is House Bill 348. This is a Baltimore County bill. This bill changes the requirements for replacing a member of the board who either leaves. Well, in our case, the motivation of the bill, a board member died. The current thing has a group of a nomination board, but it has to meet 3 times according to the law. That's when they're appointing 4 members. This bill says, in this kind of emergency situation, they could have 1 public meeting, and they would also draw people from those who had been nominated, because they nominate twice as many. Then some don't make it, so they would use that as their bench to go to first as possible nominees, because the Baltimore County School Board has been left without a member for like 4 or 5 months because of the restrictions. So it's to expedite that process in replacing a single member. You met Delegate Pasteur today. She actually had to resign because she began running for delegate, and they couldn't replace her for months. So it's to expedite the process of replacing a single member. No amendments, right, Alistair? Stop talking to other people. No amendments. Am I boring you? I just want to know.
Oh, right. Sorry, the chair was in my office.
Well, way to lay down the trump card there, my friend. All right. Hey, Madam Chair, you want to be ex officio and vote in here? You can.
Eversole's asking if you want to. All right, she ran away. Sorry.
You can hear me. I'm like the next door over. So.
Mr. Chairman, I move favorable.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Well, any discussion? Sorry. Seeing none, all in favor of the favorable motion on House Bill 348, raise your hands. Done. Okay. Next bill is local bill by Talbot County, House Bill 656. This has to do with I did Kent. That was appointing a school board member. Talbot, you're gonna have to help me with Alistair.
No problem, sir. So this just moves when they appoint their president and vice president from I believe May to December.
Okay. And it had the full approval of the delegation.
That's
okay.
Correct.
So it just changes something that obviously I can't explain why. They didn't explain it to me, but it's not a significant change. So I'll take a motion on this one.
I apologize. It's January to December, so it's from the first meeting to the last meeting. So they're setting themselves up for the next year.
Okay. I'll take a motion on this. I got a favorable. Anyone at all?
Second.
Thank you, Chow. Thank you, Delegate Wu. Is there any further discussion on this bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of this bill for Talbot County, raise your hands. Okay, there's the fifth one. We got 5 hands there. The last one is Prince George's County, House Bill 437. This one takes a little more explanation. Alistair, would you go through it just a little bit with us, please?
Yes, sure. So in brief, this replaces the existing Office of Inspector General within the Prince George's County school system with a new position, the Office of Integrity and Compliance. And it provides that office with powers to investigate acts of waste, fraud, and abuse within the school system. It offers protection for whistleblowers and generally relates to the Inspector General in the Prince George's County, the Office of Integrity and Compliance within the Prince George's County school system.
So it's a little unique because I don't think any other county has this going right now. Am I correct?
Yes, not in their school systems. This kind of thing does exist in, for instance, I believe the joint Washington Sewer Sanitation Commission that serves both Montgomery and Prince George's County.
Okay.
And some other systems like that.
So I'm open for discussion or a motion, but if we want to discuss it, we can.
I have a question, Alistair. Was
Mhm.
this approved or voted on by the delegation, Prince George's delegation?
Yes, it was, Delegate. It was unanimously approved by the Prince George's
Oh, okay.
delegation.
Okay. Then I move favorable.
I think that the county councils also weighed in favorably on this bill.
Okay.
Second. We're waiting for the chair to come back.
Make a motion to take over as subcommittee chair.
Empty chair, that's true.
This is where the appropriations process of having a vice chair works really well.
It's crossover week.
Yeah.
We have moved and seconded.
Be nice, everyone.
Without
We're,
you.
we're a
Who
ship
took
without a
that
compass.
motion in second? Damn it. All right. So any further discussion on the bill? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the bill at not amended, just the bill, raise your hands, please.
Aye.
All right, we're good there. Okay, now we move on to statewide bills. We have 2. We have House Bill 486, which was a bill to provide a non-refundable tax credit for people who used money to transport their kids by bus to non-public schools. Not non-refundable, it was refundable actually, but it's irrelevant because we have decided that that's a pretty big issue, but we need to take a look at it. And so we're going to turn this into a study on school, on transportation and busing of kids who go to non-public schools. These are both the non-publics that help with special ed, but also non-public refers to private schools, Jewish day schools, Catholic schools, all those schools like that. Alistair, you want to talk a little bit about, don't go into too much detail, but the charge of the work group, please. It's made up of a bunch of people that are appointed by the presiding officers and so forth.
Yes, sir. So their charge is to look at currently existing programs that use school buses to transport students who attend non-public schools, and also to evaluate the impact of the current system in which those programs don't exist all over the state, and to look at what other states do in this space and make recommendations.
We do as a state make some contributions for transportation to private schools. I think about $10 million, or maybe that's all 3 of them: textbooks, tech, and travel. I'm not sure which one, but it would look into it a little further and see if we could provide some transportation. Does it go into discuss? Delegate Wu, what do you got for me?
I would say I support this because it's not put the burden on local school system, right? So I think this is a great start. Thank you.
As a work group, not at all. I mean, they can make recommendations that would put a lot of work, but a work group doesn't make the bills. A work group makes suggestions, and then we decide if we want to do them or not after that. But I think it'll be good to have some input from them about what they think we could do or what we might do. Delegate Fair.
I just want to make sure it covers, it has representatives and is interested in looking at both private sectarian and non-sectarian schools.
It's in there. We have a
Yeah.
representative from each.
Okay, but the point is the results should help benefit, if we come up with recommendations, the recommendations should help benefit people from
Yeah.
all school backgrounds.
And that would be up to
basically.
the work group. You know, we may say that that's a great report and we're gonna do everything in it. We might say that report doesn't make any sense at all. And you know, that it's up to us, obviously. I mean, everybody does that with Kerwin. They say that we passed Kerwin. We never passed Kerwin. The blueprint was a response to Kerwin's recommendations, and we took a lot of them, but not all of them. So it's up to us. A work group is just that. It's just to give us some guidance on what we should be thinking about. So
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
yep, you bet. So I don't think a work group's a bad idea. Personally, I get worried about us spending money for this sort of thing, but that's my personal bent. And I think I need to have an open mind and listen to what a work group says also. So let's have a work group. I would like to take a motion on this bill. Now we got to go with the amendment first, right? Because it's severely amended, but the amendments have been sent out and you can look through and see the makeup of it. So basically what the amendment does is strike the whole bill and then turn it into a work group. So on the amendment.
Quickly, does the amendment have a fiscal note to it? You mentioned it costing money for the work group.
Usually there's a nominal one because work groups have to be staffed by somebody. And so sometimes they'll say that MSD can do it themselves. Sometimes they'll say they'll need
Like
to.
fungible.
Yeah, fungible. I love that word, Hornberger. I always think of you when I hear it now, because you're the one who brought it up. When you first used it, I had no idea what it was. It was crazy for me. So there probably is a fiscal note. We don't have one with this, but what would you guess, Alistair? What's usually when you have a work group? What are they? A fiscal note?
Around a few, like $10,000, something like that. So this normally the fiscal note will say that the agency can absorb it using existing resources. The members of the task force are exempted from being paid, but they can get their travel reimbursed under this. So the cost would almost entirely be those people going to meetings and asking the state to reimburse them at the state's set travel rate.
And there's boilerplate language that appears in work groups and commissions and all of them that say nobody can profit. They can get mileage and things like that for traveling at some travel expenses, but generally it's always set up that the people who do it are doing it voluntarily. So we don't pay them at all.
Very good. With that, I'll move favorable on the amendment.
Thank you. The amendment's been moved favorable. Do I have a second? Delegate Miller, to bring you up to speed, since I know you were running around and I appreciate that you got here. We are looking at the bill that was to create a refundable tax credit for traveling. We've decided to turn it into a work group with various groups represented. The amendment was sent around. So the amendment is to turn it into a work group so we can look at the issue more carefully going forward. I have a motion favorable. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second.
Second. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? All right. All in favor of the amendment to the bill, raise your hand, please. Okay, everybody's in. And now on the bill as amended.
Move favorable.
I have a favorable motion on the bill as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. All in favor of the bill as amended, raise your hands, please. Hi-ho. Okay, that one's gone. The next one is House Bill 1047. Other than a slight sponsor problem, is a really great bill. Delegate Hornberger, you were one of the ones who talked very nicely about this. It seeks to put the juvenile services into a stature where if teachers transfer, they can hold on to their sick leave, which happens between county to county. And if they're 12 months employees, it entitles them to a certain level of experience that entitles them to vacation. There was some stuff about pay, but we got balled up trying to figure out how to do it. The juvenile services wants to pay them anyway, and they're likely to. So we called them. We really couldn't get an answer about all this. And so we could come back and fix this if it's a problem. But for right now, we're going to say that it's kind of out of our purview to require salaries. They have their own bargaining unit and they can do that. But the sick leave does travel. So it's to try to make juvenile services seem something like a county when teachers are transferring from a county to juvenile services or back, I would assume. So the amendment, Alistair, make sure we got it right. What's the amendment do?
Yes, that's totally right. So the bills that came in required that not only would the accumulated leave that the teachers and librarians had accumulated working for local government would travel to the state government if they transferred to the Juvenile Services Education Agency, but also that their wages would transfer at the same rate, and that they would have a PIN number that was in the same ballpark as what they had at the local level. So the Juvenile Services Education Program superintendent testified that they actually, the bill as it came in would require them to pay the same rate as they were paid under the employment of local school systems and local libraries. And she testified that they actually want to pay them more than that rate. And so rather than dictate a rate, the amendment gets rid of that language and just leaves in place the holiday leave, and the sick leave.
Sick leave, holiday leave, right? That's really all there is to it. So is there a motion on the amendment to strike the salary language?
So moved.
Okay, second? Anyone?
Second.
Thank you. I know you have to unmute your mic. It's a lot of work. I get it. Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment, raise your hands. Delegate Vogel, we're voting on removing the salary language from the juvenile services bill and leaving in the things that's what the amendment does, because it was difficult for us to do. But I've got enough hands, so you don't have to vote on that one if you're feeling like you're out of the loop. And thank you. I hope your bill hearing went well. Good. They're nice in appropriations. They're nice people. Some of them aren't nice, but appropriations are. I'm not going to say the ones that are not nice. So now we have the bill, which would say somebody transferring to juvenile services would be allowed to retain all the sick leave that they had earned, as well as their vacation eligibility, and without any mention of pay due to the amendment. Do I have any discussion on the bill? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion. Come on, you can do it. Get your, do your mic thing there.
I move.
Thank you, Chow.
Second.
Thank you, Delegate Wu and Hornberger seconds. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all in favor of the bill as amended, raise your hands, please. And we're good. Now, I have one more piece of business that's going to make Delegate Plakovich Carlo angry. House Bill 1230, which was Delegate Kaufman's bill today, is a bill we have passed previously. I'm not going to ask you to vote on it today, but we may call a quick meeting to discuss this bill in the future. So keep your ear to the ground. We may just pull together and discuss this one. I encourage you to take a look at it and see what you think. This is, we've had a lot of bills on burden of proof. This isn't really burden of proof, but it does shift the expenses if someone if they win their case, and not for the court cost necessarily, but because we pointed out that's already covered, but instead for the costs of other trial costs like expert witnesses. Delegate Wu, in quick, yes.
Sure, Chair. I would like to say, is there any way we can get some numbers? How many cases actually go to the court, right? And
Yes.
what's the estimate cost for the school system?
So
That would be helpful.
Because we're in a hurry today, and because other committees are waiting to meet, we're trying to get to voting. I will, unless Alistair blows his head off, you can come talk to Alistair about that.
Alistair, can you give us some data on that?
Yeah,
I think it's roughly in the range of 90 cases in the most recent year that data was available for,
From
which
the
I think
whole Maryland school, only 90K?
only 90 because this is several steps through the process. This is after mediation, after the due process part, and then going to court after that.
Because if you actually go to court beyond this isn't ALJ, this is real court in this
So
case.
is the money shared between the school and the state?
What happens is if it goes to court and the plaintiff wins, then they won't have to pay the court costs are already covered, but they wouldn't have to pay their other expenses associated with their case. The schools would have to pay it. If the school wins, then that's that. And you hear the schools win a lot. And that's another reason why people talk about burden of proof, because they think maybe schools wouldn't win as much. But that's not what this bill's about. This bill's about shifting the payment. We did pass a bill like this last year, but a lot of you were not here to pass that. So you might want to think about it. We will bring it forward very soon. And perhaps just keep your ear to the ground. Some other stuff might pop up, but we've almost got our deck cleared here. Unless the chair gives me a few more bills to look at. But House Bill 1230, give it a serious look, please.
I believe it's HB 1237, sir.
Oh, I want to show you something. A little note that I got from the chair here. Let me pull it back a little bit. See that there, 1230. So there you go. So it's the bill that was heard today, which was Delegate Kaufman's bill. I just want you to know I can read numbers, okay? I know
I
it,
believe you.
it's
I
approximately.
I can see your tie. I
Thank you.
know.
That's correct. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.